Let's turn now to the tropics and check out this video captured by Air Force Reserve's hurricane hunters. The footage taken by Lieutenant Colonel Mark Withey shows the moment when thunder and lightning roared inside Hurricane Lee's eye of the storm on Friday, 800 miles east of Puerto Rico in the Atlantic Ocean. Now, today is the climatological peak of hurricane season, but what does that mean? Meteorologist Brittany Van Voorhees standing by to explain. Brittany.
Caitlin, essentially it means it's the date that we've had the most tropical storms and hurricanes on record. And there's actually 4 active systems to track right now, so definitely living up to its name. At the peak of the season, historically September 10th, but remember, the season goes all the way until the end of November. Now, speaking of hurricane hunters, there's actually 2 active missions right now into Hurricane Lee, finding a little bit of strengthening over the past few hours here. Now, Lee capped out at a 165-mile-per-hour Category 5 last week, but has really been battling a lot of dry air and wind shear. But it's starting to try to strengthen, and we actually see signs of this on satellite. Now, nerd alert here for the weather nerd, but this is something that of course meteorologists and forecasters track to know whether or not the storm is strengthening, making a new eye, maybe starting to jog a little bit. But what we look for here is a new eye starting to form. You see these little areas of pink, those are cold cloud tops. And what happens within a hurricane is that you have updrafts, right, that go outside of the storm, and that's how essentially they're forming themselves. Well, at the same time, you get sinking motion of air in the middle of the storm. That's what causes an eye. So when you see these really cold cloud tops and a little bit of that eye starting to form, oftentimes this is somewhat showing additional strengthening. So definitely something interesting that we'll be watching here over the next few hours. As again, it is still a Category 2 hurricane, winds of 105 miles per hour, but it at least has dropped here over the past few days in terms of intensity. I don't really like using the word weekend because a Category 2 hurricane is still extremely strong. Latest track update still showing that turn to the north, and we talked about this a little bit yesterday, but as the storm starts to slow down, we will be kind of anticipating that turn. Earlier it happens, more likely to go out to sea, and of course the opposite is true if it takes a little bit longer. But still, models pretty consistent on the fact that no model has it making landfall in the Carolinas, so we're still going to keep a close eye on it as there is still a lot of uncertainty in its eventual further track. We love when no model has it coming here, and of course you can see that clustering still pretty tight. That'll at least stay mostly away from the East Coast. New England states are a little bit of more of a concern at this point, of course, than us here. But we know that waves, they can cause swells even if the storm is thousands of miles away. So as we look at the wave heights for the middle part of next week, especially here in the Carolinas, some of those offshore waves not out of the question, couldn't be 5 if not 10 feet, but that will likely, even if it doesn't make a direct landfall, be much higher for the New England states. And of course, our biggest risk will be that beach erosion, hazardous beach conditions, things like that, and the rip currents. I know you guys have heard a lot about this even last week, and we were talking about it with Idalia, but low risk for rip currents today. That becomes moderate tomorrow, high on Tuesday, and remains high all the way through next weekend.